Go ahead.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's Dana and Jim coming to you. As Dana just pointed out, episode 13, lucky number 13. And it is a relevant, it's funny, I just had a conversation with a potential out-of-town buyer yesterday about the benefits of renting and owning. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So,
yay.
Yeah. So Dana is fantastic with buyers, and there's I think there's circumstances for everybody that where renting makes sense, but with the way interest rates are, and I think with the climate in general right now, you have to talk to me for a long time before I really bought into that argument. So what's your thoughts, Dana?
Well, see, as a landlord, I love renters, but
tell me why, Dana.
Yeah, because they're making my mortgage payment and then some. And so I like it. So not only are they covering my mortgage and dropping money in my bank account every month, with paying the mortgage, paying down the mortgage, for me to retire one day, I'm also making more than the mortgage is on it. So it's fantastic for me. But
so
real estate,
folks, that's the magic word that every investor loves to hear: cash flow positive.
Yes. Yep. But as a professional in real estate, I would say unless it's a short-term thing, it's a horrible idea. I mean, I hate to say that, but
okay. So we're going to talk some about the positives, but let's talk.
Yeah.
Like, give me a few examples in your mind of when it might be the right time to rent.
Like if you don't know how long you're going to be in the area or be in the house, then it might make sense to rent. Things usually take longer, as we say all the time. Things take longer than expected. So, if you think you're only going to be in the house 1 year, but it might actually stretch to 3, then it would probably make sense to buy. If you're going to be in there 3 to 5. But if you're only going to be here for a short stop, if you're taking a job in the area and you may get transferred somewhere else, or it's a short-term thing, then it would make sense to rent at that point, because you'd probably either break even or come out maybe a little bit ahead, depending on how much you're spending in rent, and depending on how long that stay is going to be.
Yeah, and I think if you figure it costs, let's say it costs 3.5% to buy in closing costs, let's call it 4% just to make the numbers easy. And let's say it costs 8% to sell, that's 12%. And if we're getting 5% a year in appreciation, then to Dana's point, you're probably looking at 3 years of, if we have normal appreciation for the next 3 years, it would take you 3 years to get the money that you put out back. So, but that being said, the crazy thing here, because the people I think that affects the most are VA, military people.
Yeah.
But the great thing for them is they can literally buy something for less money out of pocket than they could renting an apartment or a condo.
Yeah.
So, and the prices, for all the talk that you hear from us about how crazy the sale market is, the rental market is worse.
Way worse.
There's no inventory. I think the last rental we had something crazy like 80 applications, something crazy. It was just ridiculous.
Here recently, Jim, my house in Riva here became vacant, as you know, in basically January 1. And I've had people calling me out of the blue saying they've heard through the grapevine that I may have a vacant rental and would I be interested in renting it. So,
right, without you doing anything on your,
without doing anything, no marketing or anything. That's just word on the street. And so it's really tough out there, rentals right now. People can't find anything.
So, and then one of the common misconceptions that people have, and you can almost set your watch to it when you meet a buyer and they have not been a homeowner, and you say, well, what would you like to pay for your mortgage? And they always say, what, Dana?
I want to pay what I'm paying now in rent.
There you go. So, and the folly in that is that when you own a house, you can deduct the interest from your mortgage and your property taxes, which in the first few years especially amounts to probably 70%, 80% of your payment. So all of that is completely tax deductible. So let's just call it $2,000 a month. That's $25,000 a year that is going to come right off of your taxes. So if you made $100,000, your taxable income just got reduced to 75,000, which you know, at 25% tax bracket, you know, it's sizable. You're talking about, you know, saving yourself $6,000-7,000 a year in taxes.
Right.
So,
And the magic of that is obviously when you take that off what you're paying in mortgage or what you're paying, what you would be paying in rent, you don't have any deduction whatsoever.
yeah. So, I mean, at
Yeah, your pocket every
$6,000, you're talking $500 a month. So, you know, if you're paying $2,000 a month in rent, it's the equivalent of a $2,500 mortgage payment
Right.
with your tax break. So, and you know, that has been bore out, you know, time and time again. And then the other thing is, like Dana said, I love the fact that it's a forced savings account. And
Yeah.
like right now, we're actually much higher than 5%, but let's just call it 5%. But at 5% a year, you know, for most of people, if you're maxing out your 401k and, you know, just, you know, it takes out, you know, takes all the money you have to get through life. By buying a house, by basically paying for your place to live, which you need anyway, you know, you're going to be able to increase your savings by 5% a year. You know, that money that that you're paying is really, you're just putting it into a different savings account.
That's it.
So, yeah. And
That's it.
you know, Dana still has the first house he ever bought, and you know, I mean, he's in fantastic shape. I mean, you know, it's funny because was that almost 20 years ago, Dana?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So, you know, you look at
19.
that mortgage payment back then and you go, holy cow, how am I ever going to do this?
Right.
And then now, you know, it's a bargain, and your tenants are paying that plus some, you know, in your pocket every month. So,
Right.
and this market, that's the qualifier for me when I talk to people is that, look, even if you, you know, if you buy and something happens and you have to move and you decide not to sell, it's such a good time to be a landlord. And again, there's so much demand. There's so many people that, for whatever reason, either don't want to or don't think they are able to. But there's renters out there. There's always renters, and you know, you can do incredibly well as a landlord right now. So, but from the buy side, this continues to be, you know, lowest interest rates we've ever had ever. And so the guy I was talking to last night, I just said, you know, look. He said, well, you know, I know things are crazy out there, so we thought we might wait a year or two. And, you know, there's something, I guess, but, you know, who knows? But, you know, there's a saying in real estate that the best time to buy is always 5 years ago. I think that certainly applies, you know, because people all the time, they go, oh, I'm going to wait for the prices to go down, and they never do.
Right.
So, and I don't think, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we've had crazy growth over the last couple of years. I mean, really, since 2015, we've had really good growth.
Right. And I think we were both around when the market crashed 2007.
Yeah.
And the one thing, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you that they were doing a lot of things with loans that that they aren't doing now. So, you know, I think even if things cool off, I can't envision a scenario where, you know, we're going to relive all the foreclosures and short sales that we had then. So.
I mean, even new construction is way down. So, I mean, you know, population is growing, it's not shrinking. And so, you know, everybody needs a place to live, whether they're renting or whether they're buying, everybody needs a place to live. So,
and around here, I mean, there's not a lot left. So,
no, land wise, you mean, right?
Yeah, right. There's nowhere to go. I mean, you know, what we have is what we have for the most part. So,
yeah. So, rent versus buy.
There you go.
I mean, you know, again, if you fall into one of those categories where you're only going to be here for a year, if you got transferred in and you know it's only going to be a 1 year stop or a 2 year stop, then maybe renting is the way to go. But even in this market, like there's no rentals to be had out there.
Yeah, you're going to end up with something you don't like, that's not in great shape, and you're going to pay more than you would have to own it.
Right.
So, and I think, to your point, Dana, I can tell you the number of times people go, oh, well, I'll rent for a year and then, you know, I'll see how it goes. But, you know, time, it's a blink. I mean, we're in April already. I mean, it feels like, you know, we're in the slowest year ever, and it's still, you know, it's flying.
That house we just settled the end of last year up in Millersville. I mean, that was they came in military, and that was going to be a 1 year rental, and it turned into 3. And they ended up buying the house that they rented, but all of, you know, 3 years worth of rent was just flushed down the toilet. And it's, you know, you're starting to knock over on year 3 when they could have had, you know, saving on the, you know, having their mortgage being paid down and saving on the taxes and everything else. But, you know,
and you're talking real money. I mean, a $2,000 mortgage or a $2,000 rent, you do that for 3 years, that's $75,000 that you basically just put in the toilet, flushed away.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
anyway, if you can't tell, obviously we're a little biased, for what we do, but we've been on both sides of it, and especially now, it just makes all the sense in the world to buy. And as usual, you got to be careful because there's so many transactions now that you got to do as is, and you kind of stretch the envelope a little bit on the values. But again, work with a professional. Do not, I would stress, even if you make the mistake of not calling the Jim Shaker Group, Dana and Jim, it's a huge mistake to not vet your buyer's agent the same way that you would a listing agent, because in this market especially, the pendulum has shifted where the buyer's agent and their knowledge is more important than the person listing the house, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. There's lots of different scenarios, lots of ways you can make the deal work, and if you're just going to go with a regular old, agent that you find somewhere, you're going to get, I don't know that you're going to get burned, but you're probably not going to buy a house.
It's just, this is the varsity, where this is the big league. So, don't, this day and age, and really, again, we've talked about this a little bit, but in multiple offer situations, especially like in a, community like Piney Orchard or Crofton, like the prices, like literally there's people watching the prices. So the minute one settles, the next one goes on the market for a few bucks more. So, it's not only do you miss out on the house, but it's literally going to cost you money. So.
Right. And the pendulum would really have to swing a huge distance for prices, I think, to not, like you're saying, not keep stepping up as everything goes. Because if you look, just like to Jim's point, every time you watch a neighborhood or a house, the next one comes on the market is $5,000 or $10,000. Everybody's pushing. And so mental to wait. If you're in the market to buy.
And keep in mind too, that when you do go to sell, if you lived in the house for at least 2 of the last 5 years, then all of the gains from that sale are tax-free, up to $250,000 for a single person and $500,000 for a married couple. So for most people, if you are military and you're in the house for 3 years and you have 5% gain on a $400,000 house, you can make me do some math, 20, 60, let's call that $70,000. You would get that. And, if you get 1% interest on your savings account, Uncle Sam wants his cut of that at the end of the year. And here, you can live in your house and basically pay rent to yourself. You have to have a place to live. You sell it, you make $70,000, and the government says, have a nice day, put that back in your pocket. So, we probably need to do an episode on that topic alone, because it's amazing to me, the misconceptions and mistakes that people make when it comes to the current laws regarding capital gains tax and house sales. But the short version is the government has always seen huge benefit from lots of reasons. And
social, everything. And owning.
It's because it creates stability, and and they want people to own homes and have roots. So they've encouraged it, and it's far and away the best tax break that the government offers right now. So anyway, that's our spiel on that. I think most of you hopefully knew, but I switched to the other side of the computer and bought a house in Florida. I had my settlement Friday, and I want to thank Allison Bolero and Elizabeth Collins for doing a great job helping me. Those are Island Life realtors for the Jim Shaker Group in Florida. They did a great job. They will do a great job for you, and we're doing really well down there. So again, if you are looking for real estate anywhere from Fort Myers to Tampa on the Gulf Coast of Florida, that's us. So give us a call. Sarasota and Venice is our home base, but we cover some ground. So, and now my sister, proud to say, Stacy, has passed her exam and is also a licensed agent for us in that market as well. So give us a call. We'll take care of you in Maryland or the Gulf Coast of Florida, and look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yep. And then next week's episode is tips for pet owners that are selling their home.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Good one. So tune in next week, next Tuesday at 10 a.m.
All right. We'll see you next Tuesday. Take care,
all right,
everybody.
see you guys.